everybody. Today is the 99th episode of Let's Do Lunch, the show where we talk about the business of everything entertainment, music, streaming, everything going on in our great worlds. So happy Friday, everybody. Please introduce yourselves in the chat, just as Laura has from Digital Media Wire. And when you do so, select all panelists and attendees from the drop down so that everybody can see your intros. Otherwise, it just goes to the panelists. So make sure to make that change to all panelists and attendees. Also, we have the Q&A open, and we love getting your questions. So please drop them in the Q&A so that our panelists can see your questions. We have a terrific show today. One of the companies that I've just been fascinated with over the years is Roblox. We had Craig Donato on the show earlier in the season. And today we have the new global head of music at Roblox, John Vlassopulos. John, welcome to the show. And with John today is Seth Schachner. And Seth has been with us before moderating Fridays. Seth, great to have you on the show again.
Great to be here on number 99, Ned.
Well, I think John is on mute.
Yeah, John, I think, there we go.
The first panel, Ned, I think I did 20 years ago was with Digital Media Wire. It was John Perry Barlow, like me, Ted Cohen, and like Jeff Lieberson. Anyway, so it's
there may be some of those folks in the audience today, and as I recall, it's a longer story, but we had quite an after party with John Perry Barlow.
We did at the place up in 77th or whatever it was.
Yeah. All right, guys, have a great show.
Thanks,
all right,
Ned.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Ned. Hey, John. Hey, everyone out there. Good to have everyone here. And kind of glad you mentioned some of the stuff in the past, because I was going to sort of kick it off by saying John and I go a little bit back, more than a couple of years, maybe even a couple of decades. I was thinking last night, not as far back as, like, I don't know, CDs or 8-track tapes, but I think we both remember things like ringtones and ringback tones, and we've been at it for a while, throughout some of the waves of digital music. And we're going to talk about something super cool and new and interesting today. And I was probably just projecting that we've got a lot of people, good group around the country online with us today. I would bet a lot of them, maybe haven't used Roblox or really aren't part of Roblox, might be slightly different vintage that's out there that's listening, just wondering what it's all about. So why don't we just start with, the most basic big picture overview. You've described Roblox to me as a co-experience platform in the metaverse. Yeah. So tell us what Roblox is, what's it all about?
Sure. So good to see everyone. Hello, Jason, Dick. I said I would only do it if Dick would join. So
wow. Hey, Dick. All right. The link is here too. So
I think for anyone who has children from kind of 8 to 16, they're probably very well aware, because they get hit up by the kids, as I have an 8 and 10-year-old, going, please, can I have some more Robux? For those who don't, I will give the rundown, or even for those who do, maybe they just give the Robux but not sure of the platform. So at a high level, as YouTube is to video, Roblox is to gaming. So we're a UGC platform. Kids for the last 15 years have been creating games for other kids to play. So we have 20 million games created, 2 million kind of creators on the platform. And they create games, and in those games, they're sort of light games. So if you have like Red Dead Redemption on this side, and then you have Candy Crush on this side, we're much closer to Candy Crush. So it's a very social platform. Most of the kids are playing with another friend. So it's really their way to socialize, hang out, in the same way maybe adults would, Seth and I and Ned would get together for a poker night. It's not really about the poker. It's about hanging out and catching up, arguably golf as well. No offense to golfers, but so Roblox is a very social platform, and it is about that co-experience, about hanging out with your friends, and it's very participatory. So a lot of the older media is consumptive, where you're scrolling and consuming, and less participatory. But a lot of the kids on Roblox are creating, even if they don't have a huge amount of people playing their games, they can create. My kids create games, and we make it easy to do. And as soon as you create the game, they're immediately available, which is the magic of the tech platform, in AR, VR, game platforms like web, mobile. So it's like build and then they're existing.
Totally multi-platform. Yeah. So let's talk about, and that's awesome. The metaverse. I mean, what is it? Is it a world where you sort of play along as an avatar? I've heard it described that it has, perhaps less boundaries than other platforms, and that's one of the reasons that the younger folks like it. Give us a sense on what the metaverse is all about.
Yeah, I mean, so dialing back, you mentioned ringtones, and obviously before ringtones, we had the dawn of the internet. So I think in terms of platforms, I was pitching artists in the 90s on getting a website on the internet, and then obviously AT&T era, we were encouraging brands, media companies, and financial institutions, et cetera, to get onto the mobile web with apps, and it really feels like the metaverse is the next kind of step, the next evolution or the next medium. I think mobile was slightly easier to get your head around because everyone had phones in their hands. So conceiving what mobile media would be, the presumption was it was on your phone. The metaverse is a little bit amorphous because it's not tied to VR. So I think some people think it must be VR because it's tied to a physical device. But I think the metaverse, easiest way to think about it is a persistent world that exists outside our own, that you can visit whenever you want to visit, and anything you leave there can stay there. You can have a kind of a dual reality, right? So your presence that you maintain in the metaverse can be consistent across multiple platforms. And from a technical perspective, the reason it's taken a while to evolve is it's very hard to do technically, to have the same thing that you do on one, and then when you switch platforms to pick it up exactly where you are on the other platform. So it's having an identity and a presence, and an experience with other people in this sort of alternate platform.
Interesting. And if you just, think about, the things that have been in the headlines or just, sucking up a lot of people's time, not just younger audiences. I mean, I'll use TikTok as one example, or Triller, some of the social video applications that are out there. I mean, it's qualitatively different than, say, a TikTok experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I think TikTok is generally a linear video experience, which we've had for many, many years in just a newer short form, and was obviously adopted from a existing, US video platform or social video platform. So I think that's a medium with video consumptive. The metaverse is sort of a separate whole platform, more akin to the internet, the mobile internet, and then the metaverse.
Right.
Cool. And I think as devices evolve, you'll be able to engage with it in more immediate ways. So AR brings things into the divide between the metaverse and the real world becomes closer. And then obviously with virtual reality devices, you can get more immersed in the metaverse and explore. But it's persistent. It's always there. And I think from a Roblox perspective, it's commercial. So we have an underlying currency of Robux. A lot of kids will just have, again, their pocket money. They don't. My daughter just lost a tooth, and she got her money and immediately cashed it in for Robux, right? So it's the currency that they understand. So it's a whole nother platform, but already with the underpinning of a currency.
Yeah, but so let's just stay on the audience, and it's definitely a younger audience, as I understand it, right? But the kids are there and they're hanging out, and it's been described to me as a place where they know their friends are going to be there. It's not just a solo experience, for sure, right?
Yeah. So I think 90 some percent of the kids will hang out with another kid at least, if not more. And the notion is, I think, after school, there are so many games on the platform. We obviously have some mega games, the Adopt Me's and the Royal Highs and the Jailbreaks, but every week there can be a new game that the kids discover. So it's almost like finding a coffee shop, that we say, hey, after school, we're going to go to this coffee shop, and then we're going to go to this place, then we're going to the mall. So they're like hopping around different places, they're chatting, and a lot of the time spent on the platform is dressing up their avatars. So they're spending money with hairstyles and backpacks and headphones, and then they're dressing up their pets or houses. Yeah. So a lot, going back to the mobile era, if we take it to music, for a second, it's really all about self-expression, right? So you have your physical character. We are both wearing nice black shirts, right? That we went to represent us, and glasses and this, that, and the other, and hairstyles. So the kids are doing that on, to the extreme. So it's almost a new generation of architects and interior designers and stylists. I mean, they care so much about their outfits, and they're willing to pay, you know, $1, $2, $5, $10 to get
Yeah.
right hairstyle or right look. So if you think from a music perspective, one of the obvious things, we'll talk about how we, you know, want to work with the music industry and artists, but one obvious one is merch, where as opposed to getting the physical merch, you know, which usually comes off the back of concerts, which are not really happening now. You know, digital merch is easy, has very little cost of production and distribution, and the kids are paying an equivalent amount in some cases for the virtual merch as they may do for the physical merch.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I want to dive into music, but I also just want some of our audience to hear just some of the overall proposition, because I think your strategy is very interesting. I mean, just to hone back a little bit, a couple moments into it, but I mean, is it fair to say the strategy, I mean, it's user creation, self-expression, user-generated content. I mean, that's sort of a distinct pocket in the gaming world, as I understand it. Is that kind of a fair statement to say that, you know, people are creating games and it's all about building and sharing, essentially?
Yeah, and I think there's talk about some of the other companies in the space who are games. So we are not a game. There is not get on the Roblox game. We are a platform. So that's the YouTube metaphor. In the same way, in the old days, you go onto YouTube and create a video, and they were the early creators. Now, again, the kids come on to Roblox and create games. And the fun thing, you know, is that they're doing these very collaboratively. So you could have someone from London, another kid, you know, the designer, the engineers from London, the designers from Singapore, you know, another artist is from Los Angeles, and they get together and form these little, almost like mini game studios. So it's you know, I've always thought generation by generation, everyone's getting more collaborative, more creative. Someone else does the music, and you know, these kids are ranging from, again, 8 to 18 and college age. So, but everything you see is created by for the community, by the community.
Yeah, and so it's free to play, right? You don't need to pay to join, but you have premium plans. You have to spend for Robux basically to keep playing, essentially.
Yeah, so not necessarily timed to gameplay, but if you want to, it's sort of a freemium. You know, in the general game space, everything is now, you know, the hyper casual space is quite popular, and so I think from a Roblox perspective, if you want to, a lot of it is around dressing up your character. So if you want to upgrade your look, or maybe invest in different you know, pets and characters, you know, then you would spend the Robux. But generally, playing is for the most part always free.
Oh, that's great. So, I mean, we haven't talked about COVID and the pandemic. You know, tons of businesses are disrupted, to say the least. But is it fair to say, from what I've read, you've had a pretty big explosion of usage during the pandemic? You've filled a certain need, yeah?
Yeah, no, I think that is fair to say. It's been obviously a tough time for everyone. We've had, you know, kids homeschooled and 2 working parents, so I think Roblox has filled a gap for many kids to have that social connection. And it's, you know, it's, again, I think the whole notion of screen time being like food. There is some unhealthy food and there's some nourishing food. So we like to feel that the Roblox screen time is nourishing, and the kids are really just in a world where they can't connect with their friends. They're able to get that social interaction, kind of the imagination and the play, you know, with their friends. So it's been key for our kids, and I know many kids, which has definitely brought more, you know, more users to the platform since the pandemic hit.
Yeah, I mean, the usage numbers, I know you're privately held, but the things I've seen are pretty spectacular. I mean, 40 million users from February onwards. I mean, more than 100. I think I've seen 160 million users up there. So it's a pretty spectacular community you have there at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you know, again, for the generation behind, there's a lot of talk about, you know, the I would say legacy media, you know, the Facebooks and the Instagrams, and the TikTok. I think for the generation behind them, you know, Roblox is somewhat dominant in terms of time spent. You know, it's 3 billion hours a month, which is an insane amount. So that they're on there not, you know, in seconds or microseconds of time, but they're spending hours on the platform. So the opportunity for brands and media companies and anyone wanting to connect with 150 million plus, you know, kids. And again, when we say kids, so we're aging up very quickly on the platform, so that now half of under 16s in the US and the UK are on Roblox every month. So we're creeping towards high teens, and then I think eventually it just becomes a youth platform in the near future.
Yeah.
So
Great. Not to spend too much time just on the landscape, but just one last point. We mentioned, I believe, Minecraft briefly, but just to think a little bit, just to maybe speak to kind of who you see that's in your competitive sites. Is Minecraft kind of the nearest one, and how are you sort of differentiated from them?
Yeah, I don't think I mentioned Minecraft, but I mean, in terms of the competitive landscape, it's really, anywhere that kids choose to, or the youth choose to spend their time. So if they're spending time, listening to music on Spotify, or if they're playing a game on Fortnite or watching a video on Netflix, in theory, those are competitive because we think about time. But in terms of a company that has a similar proposition, I mean, again, the Epic guys really have a game which is different to what we have. So Minecraft would be another platform, but it's a little bit more decentralized. And but yeah, I can't speak as much to the business model. I'm not as aware, but yeah, I think generally speaking, in terms of a mass, very varied sort of infinite arcade of fun games to play and social as a connected platform with the sort of integrated currency, and I think Roblox kind of stands out from the crowd.
Yeah, for sure. And we're going to talk about music in a second, but just to kind of remind everyone, we'll get to a Q&A 15 or 20 minutes from now, or maybe even earlier. So I kind of encourage everyone to drop your questions in the Q&A box that's down at the bottom of your screen there. We'll try to get to as many of them as possible. So John, why don't we talk a little bit about, your music strategy? I mean, let me just top level before we go into some of the exciting stuff you're doing with artists. I mean, is it a subset of the broader strategy? Is it pretty distinct? Maybe just speak about the top level of what you're trying to do with music, and then we'll zip into some of the cool promotions you're doing.
Sure. So I think if you can imagine the real world without fandom, without music, without entertainment, it would be quite a dull place, or a less exciting place. So the kids on Roblox for the last 15 years have had to make do without kind of celebrity and entertainment. So at a high level, the mission is across music and entertainment is to inject all the obvious ways that music should appear on Roblox or in a virtual world, and then the stretch goal is trying to make so the non-obvious connections. So meaning, if we take concerts, for example, so in the real world, a concert has a live artist, a live stage, and a live audience. So the simple analogy would be, we would have a virtual stage, a virtual artist, and a virtual audience. So that would be like mapping one for one. But then the stretch goal is to see how we can bring experiences that kids wouldn't have in the real world and actually make them better. For example, hardly any kids, if anyone, maybe people on this Zoom have had meet and greets and had backstage access and VIP hangs, but 99.9% of kids haven't. So how can we recreate, special moments for the kids, between each other, between their stars, and connect the stars in a more tangible way with their audience. And from a revenue perspective, it's also how can we diversify and create new revenue streams for the industry. So from a kid's perspective, we want to make it, baseline that if you're creating a game, we want to give you the best access to music, right? Amazing music that you can use in your game, with the thinking that better music in a game makes a better game, makes it more fun to play. So these are kind of the baseline aspects of the business, but yeah, we want kind of the Roblox platform to come to life with music, and we think connecting with artists in the same way before they had websites and apps. We're launching these virtual worlds in 2021 with artists and festival brands and venue brands. So anyone who wants to kind of bring their brand to the platform, we're looking at. So, and then we've also, I'm sure we'll touch on, we've got launch parties, which is something that we've kind of rolled out today, which we can chat about.
Yeah, no, the Ava Max party sounds really cool to talk about in a second. I mean, but so was music just, I mean, how did it start on the platform? Was it always part of the gaming experience where game developers or your audience can just pull some licensed music, or is something that you kind of started out originally to do? Or
yeah, I would say, like, in terms of partnerships in general for Roblox, so historically until last year there was really no significant partnerships with any brand or kind of IP holder, and then last year we started doing some partnerships with companies like Nike and Warner Brothers, and the NFL, just to see how the kids would react, if they'd be excited to connect with their favorite brands. And not surprisingly, they loved the experience. So in 2020, we wanted to see how we could extend those partnership opportunities, and music was such a natural way. It's how we all express ourselves. If you think of your teenage years, that's where you develop fandom with your favorite artists. It's where you connected with your best friends around going to shows and meeting up and music. And if you think of your wardrobe, 16-year-old Seth, I'm sure there was music T-shirts in there and crazy hair. So it was such a natural thing to lead with in 2020 going into 2021. And I think I came, as you know, from the music industry back in the day. So I think expressing to our internal team, I think creating partnerships with artists and record labels and anyone in the ecosystem was going to be a good thing, because music industry kind of invented viral marketing and street teams. And if you want a bunch of creative people to go, what should we do? Amazing things should we do for the platform to make the kids have a great experience and connect in new ways? More than likely the music industry was going to come up with the best ideas to, for the kids to have a great time.
I think it makes a lot of sense. And I don't, if you just look at audience scope, I feel like your audience is, whether it's younger skewing, not sure any of the incumbents out there really cover the kind of experience in the same way that you're describing it. So it's got to be a unique, place for you to be with labels and artists, just from an experiential standpoint.
Yeah, I think presenting it, because Roblox historically has been quite quiet in terms of, not shouting and screaming about numbers and revenue, et cetera, and as a private company as well. So I think going around and seeing a lot of old friends in the business sharing, at the time, maybe we had 100 million users and it wasn't even on the radar. So, Scott Cohen is a good mate at Warner. And I think some people were on it early going, wow, there's 100 million people and our artists on the platform. Like, this is, what are we doing? We've got to get on there and work out ways to engage. I think everyone's come around, and now it's a case of, as we're building the team out to handle the sort of interest and work out, we're trying to create programs. So again, we'll get to the launch party. There are some programs at different levels, and we're trying to systematize them so we can, in 2021, get more partnerships going with more frequency.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about that. You have something that's launching today. Ava Max has got a new record. She's an Atlantic artist, Heaven and Hell. Why don't we just speak to what you're going to do? Because it sounds qualitatively pretty cool and pretty distinct from some of the average launch release parties I hear about.
Yeah. So the inspiration was, again, with people in the business, we would go to showcases, listing parties. Like, I always reference Joe's Pub internally in New York, like back in the day, and you'd hang with your friends, you'd hang with the artists, and it would be half an hour, and you get some drinks, and you felt that amazing connection. It was social. You felt a bit special because something special happened. So that was one inspiration. The other inspiration, the other insight was, the music business is fueled more so now than ever by, Thursday night DSP drops, to Friday listening, to Tuesday charts, to charts drive Grammys, charts drive touring. So that's the lifeblood of the industry. The trouble is, fans specifically, we think probably 99.9% of Roblox kids have no idea, right? There's no notion that Fridays, going back to Friday night music videos pre-MTV, right? No one really knows that Friday is an important date. So we thought, well, why not combine those two things together and allow our partners in the business, artists and labels, in this case it was APG and Atlantic and Full Stop, to come together on the platform to host, this kind of launch party for their artist Ava Max. And we, to make it a little easier, we have some code that we originally used for One World that we did back in the spring. So we hosted the big Gaga festival. So we had some code initially there. So we've made that code sort of open source and available. And in this case, the artist and the label and the management company work with one of our top devs, and in a very quick turnaround, and for a very, very low price, we're able to turn out something which everyone will see this afternoon, which I think looks super fun. So my hope is going into 2021, we can start, we on Roblox will commit to kind of turning Fridays into Music Fridays, right? So we bring the audience, and then hopefully the kids every Friday can get this notion of party hopping. So one artist is followed by another artist, and then followed by another artist, and they're kind of popping around. They're discovering music, they're buying merch, you know, they're engaging with their friends, it's co-experience, they're engaging with the artist. And, you know, we hope if we start with a, you know, couple of million today, in a year, we've got 10 million, 15 million kids every Friday. And it's almost like a music programming block on after school on Fridays that we can help, you know, the industry with those streaming numbers and hopefully drive revenue.
Sure. So is the experience, is it like a live, I think we said live to tape, or is there a live performance piece? Is the artist an avatar? What are you sort of thinking about what the experience will actually be like, and how music will be a part of it, just in terms of the brass tacks?
Yeah. So I think, to be 100% clear, this is not, these are not meant to be concerts, right? It's this notion of the, you know, the launch party, you know, not a concert. So concerts will be a distinct other product and business. So yeah, these are video based. They're similar to what we did with One World, and not to completely let the cat out of the bag, but generally speaking, there's a space which is open now. It looks like, so her album is called Heaven and Hell. So the developer did a great job creating that theme in a very Robloxian way. So you have a Heaven and Hell backdrop. You're effectively like running around the head of the artist, or running around the music video in a 3D way, which is super fun for the kids. They can do quests, and then they can unlock different merch items for free. They can buy some merch items that are sort of high value connected to the artist. They can jump around, have fun with their friends, they can chat. And then at 4 o'clock this afternoon, the show starts. And it's a very intimate, again, with that reference of the showcase, artists will be speaking directly to camera in a very intimate way, all video, no avatar. It's the artist speaking to camera, explaining like, "What's up, Roblox? It's me, Ava Max," which is super cool.
Yeah.
And then these are my inspirations for the record. And then she's going to play a couple of songs. And then the kids hang out and listen to the music and have a party. But they're not meant to last for hours and hours. It's meant to be almost like this pop-up experience. And again, hopefully everyone else can enjoy it.
It sounds totally unique and very incremental. And let me just remind everyone, we've got like 75 of you out there around the country. So pop some questions at us. We're going to get to them soon. Drop them in the Q&A box. I see Chris Pfaff has already sent one, and we'll get to that in just 1 second. But but John, so let's just touch a little bit more on the music piece of it. So, you know, I know from my own experience, just working with different social apps and communities, how much competition there is now for artists and talent. And, you know, sometimes whatever the experience is, the artist manager is, you know, going to ask the question about business model and what's in it for them. And you kind of spoken to merchandising and this being incremental, but maybe can you speak a little bit to the business model, whether it's for an artist or a label or any of the parties that you're dealing with?
Sure. So yeah, I mean, at a baseline, yeah, the opportunity is getting access to 150 million plus kids, users around the world, who are very much in the teen sweet spot demo. So that is pretty enticing, and generally is enough for most partners that we talk to. I think beyond that, in the branded places, there's a revenue share arrangement. So those are really, you know, owned and controlled by the partner, and we facilitate it. So there's a revenue opportunity if you want to sell merch in your space, or if you want to sell tickets, or whatever you want to do in your place. We share that back with the partner. You know, if you just do merch in our catalog, we're going to start doing that. So we're starting to talk to partners where we could take merch from DJs and artists and have them in the catalog. So currently we offer no premium merch. So that'll be coming, which is again a kind of revenue share. So yeah, you know, and I think it's really the brand building. I think smart artists and management companies and labels realize that if you can get your brand established, you know, that's the most important thing. I think there's very little revenue being generated from other platforms like TikTok, but it's just everyone wants to be number one, and you're building a brand, and there's plenty other ways off platform to monetize. So we think, you know, if you're the #1 artist in one of the top games on Roblox, you're probably going to have a ton of streams, and then you'll probably be #1 on the charts. So it kind of has a halo effect.
Yeah, and so you're obviously part of the intent is to drive other economies, whether it's Spotify streaming or other usage just throughout the artist landscape. It sounds like you'll be supportive of that.
Yeah,
not competitive.
Yeah. So because we're not competitive, and we know that the kids are kind of already listening in the background. But if you think the primary use case more and more, unfortunately, we're not all gathering around the record player, you know, listening to music anymore. I mean, the primary experience is gaming. So the music is in the background. So the more we can help kids discover, you know, what music they like and help, you know, build these brands for the partners and expose them to the community, you know, we definitely think that will have some pretty significant benefits to the success of the artist or the label.
Sure. So let's just touch on one question that's come in. And again, encourage you guys out there, you know, drop us some questions in the Q&A box. But Chris Pfaff in Montclair, New Jersey is asking about, you know, if you've thought about whether it's doing a subsidiary label. I guess UMG's got something called Enter Records, or just looking at other verticals like dropping music into esports tourneys, or other verticals to bring, you know, these Roblox experiences. Is that part of the landscape going forward for you?
So hello, Mr. Pfaff. I think there's no immediate plans to do a sub label, but I think in terms of the future opportunity, you know, around that notion of a lot of the music now, the listening is in the background, gaming is in the foreground. There's no real reason that music listening couldn't be in the foreground. So nothing to announce, but there's no reason that wouldn't be an opportunity. But in terms of signing artists that we see popular on the platform, also no immediate plans, but definitely not off the table in the future.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Just what about genres? I mean, is it any specific genre that you feel works better than others? We've got some questions coming in. Elgin Kim has asked about Nashville or country music coming in as well. I guess you're in Nashville, obviously.
We're trying to turn Roblox into a country music mecca. So again, it kind of, if you imagine the charts, so Ava is, I think, #1 and #2 on the pop charts in the UK at the moment. So that the popularity of the artists on Roblox kind of marry with the team demo, which generally marries with the charts. So we're pretty top 40. I would say the differences to top 40, we skew a little higher with kind of K-pop and J-pop. So we're very, very big in Korea and a lot of international in Asia. So and then some of the kids like, they don't know what it's called, but they're like soundtracks or like background music. So that would be like lo-fi EDM, because they're used to hearing it in the chilled cow type stuff in the background. But generally it's, you know, pop, hip hop, like R&B, generally that you would see in the artists that you would see in the charts.
Right, and the audiences are all over. Do you have any? Is North America a special, you know, emphasis, or you've got Latin America, Asia? Where are they from, and are they all together in the same experiences, or they segmented out in some way?
So we're doing a joint venture in China with Tencent. So Tencent would be, I mean, Tencent and China would be separate, and then the rest of the world is one mass. So it is not a US only phenomenon. We're very big in South America, as you mentioned, specifically like Brazil, Asia. We're very dominant in Southeast Asia and Korea, Japan, in Europe, France, Germany, you know, Spain, the UK. So the great thing about the platform is there's a lot of cross-culturalism. So I know you're in the Latin space. So
yeah,
we see kind of like audio blindness, or whatever the metaphor would be, where the kids don't care where it comes from. If it's good and exciting, they'll embrace it, and things can go like wildfire on the platform. If someone discovers a new song or a new, you know, piece of content, it goes around the world in a second.
Yeah,
so
totally seen that with the Latin artists I work with. I mean, you know, reggaeton, for example, it just used to be a genre popular in Puerto Rico or the Eastern States, and it's just been blended everywhere. And, you know, artists like a J Balvin is got audiences all over the place from Europe to Asia, so that makes a lot of sense. But is there any like and I'll get to a question that comes off this in a second from Dr. Gigi Johnson here in LA, but just in terms of like moderation, or is that something that you've got staffs or people doing, kind of watching the community or the chat, or is it just give me a little sense on how that works?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the audience that we're working with, safety is the number one concern and has been since the beginning of the company. So I would say I'm not a professional safety expert, but from all the hearings internally and external reports, I think we get a gold star in terms of trust and safety. And we have hundreds and hundreds of people around the world moderating and safety, practices in place on the platform to keep the kids safe and block out any unnecessary content. So yeah, I think that's has to be super important. And then additionally for the platform, we want to make sure that the developers can have the best tools to create the best content. And then, we also want the partners to be able to monetize and make money. So those are kind of the guiding principles of the platform. I was going to say though, on the different types of music, we did do a deal with Monster Cat. It's a Canadian label who are great. And I am looking to do more of those types of deals in 2021. So the plan is to release not everything, but maybe every couple of weeks we introduce a new label or a new catalog, 50 tracks, 100 tracks, and we really try and help that label or catalog get exposure to the 150 million, 200 million, however many it is at the time users. So if anyone's listening and has an interest, you can reach the group at music@roblox.com.
Cool. That's music@roblox.com. And yeah, Derek McNeil has asked, I think, a super interesting question. Just, on the label side, if there, I mean, you spoke to what was enabled for Ava Max with Atlantic and Warner, but, if there are third parties, whether they're labels or even groups of users or individuals, is that the type of, can you enable those tools for all, or is that sort of a custom approach you're taking depending upon the partnership?
No, there's already, if you Google Roblox and party place, so we already wanted to release, if you wanted to do a birthday party or a bar mitzvah or if you want to do a college graduation, you can use party place. So that was sort of the origin of the open source code. So really what we're doing for the partners on the label or artist or management or brand or whoever wants to use it, that we can help and handhold to get the code available, but we want that code, the more people use it, the more valuable the code gets. It has more bells and whistles. But yeah, that's absolutely available for Derek or anyone else to use. And again, ping me and I can help connect the dots. It'll get you, I would say, 90% of the way there to having something similar to what you'll see this afternoon for Ava Max. And then it would need a little bit of kind of look and feel tweak after that. But we want to make it as easy as possible, almost, moving as close as we can, as quickly as we can to a templatized approach where you would just go in and go, I want to have it set in space or the beach or, in a bar, and then you would be able to change black to orange to red and upload your video and then choose your merch and then schedule it to go live. So we're working towards making it plug and play. So we're getting there.
No, it makes a lot of sense. What about other verticals outside of music? Presumably your colleagues or other people on the team are looking at that, or maybe just give a little sense of what the future could look like, even beyond music as you expand it.
Yeah, I think, as I worked in the TV space, and I think working with film partners, and we did something with Wonder Woman recently and Warner Brothers. But I think if we're talking about creators, I did a lot of interactive television and game shows. So I would love in 2021 to do some interactive kind of TV formats. I think Roblox would be amazing. And if you look at some of our games like Piggy, so Piggy rose out of nowhere, and has just released Piggy 2 and is an absolute sensation. And it's really like a little mini time-based game. Jailbreak is kind of a game with a start and a finish. So I think the notion of playing together, years ago, I did, one of the first interactive live kind of game show TV shows when we did 1 versus 100 with Xbox. So I think bringing back that kind of interactivity, maybe some winning, you could win Roblox or points. We'd love to see that in TV. But really the other media, if you think of video, it's again, getting kids together. If you watch on a solo screen, it's fun, but it's much more fun to be with your friends. So even just, if you think about a Vivo, if anyone from Vivo is listening, it would be great to have like a music video experience where you're hanging with your friends and you can maybe vote on what the next video is and you can chat. It's just, we think anything is just more fun with your friends. So
Yeah.
we want to
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But so it sounds like you're platform agnostic, right? So one can have the Roblox experience on presumably different types of devices. But is there any that work best? Or we've had an anonymous question just in terms of platforms that haven't worked or experience that haven't worked so far, just to give a little bit of a lay of the land there.
Yeah, no. So I think, as I was saying earlier, that the sweet spot of Roblox is that it's like build once in an easy way and then it works everywhere. In terms of so if you do want to hop on your headset, you can get there in the games. But in terms of general popular usage, we're pretty mobile and internet heavy, and then kind of gaming platforms.
Right. Okay. Great. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to pop them at us. We're about to wrap this up. Basically, I might give us a couple minutes back if we don't get some more questions. I don't know.
So I think as we're drawing to a close, I think a lot of the ideas, just to put it out to the community, we are a small but growing team. So I'm looking for new heads in different cities. But I think as we're growing, all the ideas that you guys have listening, please feel free. No idea is a bad idea. The more I hear from the community is that we'd love to do this. We'd like to make this easier. I can take internally and then kind of schedule and hopefully deliver as quickly as possible to make them available to the industry. So don't be shy to reach out and have suggestions.
Yeah, I'm sure you're going to get an avalanche of stuff for that. We've had one other question from Ross Festenstein, just asking about hurdles or obstacles with the labels. In this case, with getting through their radar to make the launch party with Ava happen. Anything you really feel you had to overcome with them?
Honestly, I again, we're the facilitator in the trend, in this sort of deal. And I think Warner were fantastic to work with. The management were fantastic to work with. Ava was fantastic to work with. And I wanted to prove that we could pull off, again, not a concert, but these sort of launch party places pretty quickly. Because often with new platforms, if we remember the early days of building apps, it's like, this app is going to take, 9 months to build, and it take too much time. So we wanted to make sure that we can get things out quickly. So the start to finish on this project was probably 2 or 3 weeks, which is fantastic. So that's
great.
Yeah. So no complaints, and shout out to the APG and Atlantic crew. They were great.
Good stuff. All right, and the folks have asked how can they get in touch with you? What's the best way to do so?
Yeah, I think that music at Roblox will end up with me, so it's easy to remember.
All right.
You don't have to try and spell my last name.
Good stuff. Nor mine. Well, thanks everyone. John, this was awesome. Look forward to seeing you in person. Ned, thank you so much. I think you want to mention what's coming up Monday as well. So I'll turn it over to you.
We do indeed. John, thank you very much. I really appreciate having you on the show. Congrats on the new position. Really excited to watch what you guys are doing in the music space.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
See you, everyone.
Yep. Seth, great moderating. Thanks everybody for tuning in to our 99th show. For our 100th show on Monday, we have our Future of Streaming show, and we have the CEO and founder of Whirl in the OTT space who will be on the show. Then on Tuesday, we're doing a show about the election and the entertainment industry. We have a full panel set up for that show. So make sure to join us next week. And hey, a reminder for folks, take your heads out of your screens this weekend, try to look at the sky, get some fresh air, and enjoy some time away from screens. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.
Thanks all. Thanks, John. Thanks, Ned.
See you guys.